Thanks for joining us on the news this hour. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has affirmed the readiness of the federal government at building on the successes of the 2015 electoral process. Osinbajo, who stated this at the opening of the E-Conference 2015, says the current administration is keen to engage all stakeholders to ensure the deployment of technology for the 2019 general election. Abiola Oluwole completes the story.
The E-Nigeria Conference is designed to explore ways of maximizing the potentials of the country in the area of information technology. Experts, electoral officers, politicians are here to brainstorm on how best to fight electoral fraud through the use of technology.
The recommendations that will come out of these deliberations will greatly contribute to the consolidation of our electoral processes and systems in Nigeria.
Vice President Osinbajo, who was represented by Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Adebaye, maintains that the federal government is ready to deploy ICT to further guarantee effective service delivery to Nigerians. He also affirmed the stance of the current administration at building on the successes of the 2015 general elections by deploying technology for the 2019 electoral process.
To further build on the achievements of the 2015 elections, we will engage all relevant stakeholders, as we are doing today, through dialogue, research on best practices across the globe, and conferences such as E-Nigeria to provide useful insights and information that can deepen understanding and engender the deployment of even more advanced technologies to improve our electoral process.
For his part, the immediate past chairman of INEC, Atahiru Jega, is convinced that the 2019 elections will be a consolidation of the current electoral process. He, however, noted that emphasis must be placed on restructuring the existing legal framework for election, adoption of technology, and financial autonomy for INEC, a position seconded by his predecessor, Mahmoud Yakubu.
Electoral processes cannot be effective if an election management body is starved of funds and/or has to go cap in hand to an incumbent executive begging for funds before it can conduct an election. As we begin a new electoral cycle, the Commission and staff are eager and enthusiastic about gathering information and knowledge that can help in the deployment of new and sustainable technologies in order to improve our electoral process.
And even though the next general elections are still far away, political watchers are keeping an eagle eye on what will be the performance of INEC in the coming governorship elections in Kogi and Bayelsa states. Abiola Oluwole, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Media aides of the Deputy President of the Senate, Ike Ekweremadu, claimed that he escaped a suspected assassination attempt on Tuesday. The attempt, according to a statement signed by spokesman Uche Anijiku, occurred at about 10 a.m. between Apple Flyover and Dantata Construction Company's yard, close to the old Central Bank headquarters junction, on his way to work. It noted that the suspected assassins, who operated in a tinted white-colored Mercedes-Benz AMG E63 without a number plate, were chauffeured by a long-bearded, light-skinned foreigner whom it described as a possible mercenary. The statement indicated that the vehicle, which was positioned by the Apple Bridge, on noticing that the Deputy President of the Senate's convoy took the right turn to join the Nnamdi Azikiwe Expressway, instead made a turn. Ekweremadu's media aide said the development has already been reported to the security agencies. While the Senate has vowed to resist all attempts to blackmail it over plans to probe the alleged 25 billion naira payment to an e-payment collection agency involved in remittance to the Treasury single account. Senate President Bukola Saraki said this after the senator representing Kogi West, Dino Malaye, had raised a point of order on a publication in This Day newspapers, which he described as uncharitable to the Senate.
Or blackmailed by journalists, group of persons or individuals who have commercialized their consciences and then casting aspersion on the constitutional responsibility of the Senate, which is to carry out oversight functions over the MDAs. May that day never come that the Senate will see an anomaly or abuse of public funds and keep quiet because we are going to be blackmailed. The insinuation in this write-up, Mr. President, is that we are fighting and attacking Mr. President. Mr. President is not the one collecting 1% of TSA. And the motion moved last week, Wednesday, Mr. President, had 2 prayers. The first prayer was to thank Mr. President and commend Mr. President for the implementation of TSA. And we encourage using TSA in compliance with Section 80 to turn around and make it look as if the Senate is fighting Mr. President, is myopic, is parochial, is unacceptable to the Senate and Senators of the 8th Assembly.
Chairman, sir, we'll refer the letter to you for you to review and come back to us within a week.
Information Minister Lai Mohammed has dismissed claims of a diversion of funds accruing to the Treasury single account. He also challenged anyone with contrary facts and figures to make such information public. In a statement issued by the Special Advisor to the Minister, Segun Adeyemi, the Minister said the TSA has neither been enveloped in any fraud nor has any money from the account been diverted. The Minister reiterated the fact that less than 2 trillion naira has accrued to the TSA. Hence, the 1% charges on the amount could not have been 25 billion naira, as alleged by Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose. He noted that the Senate's investigation of the TSA is within its oversight function, but argued that it's not a confirmation that the TSA funds have been delivered or that one single company made 25 billion naira as charges. Lai Mohammed noted that the TSA was initiated by the Jonathan administration, but only enjoyed a new lease of life under Buhari's administration because of his sterling leadership qualities. The 8th Senate has approved and adopted a legislative agenda to guide its activities and proceedings for the next 4 years. The guidelines were adopted after a lengthy deliberation on the floor of the Senate on Tuesday. Members expressed hope that an ad hoc committee will be set up to ensure compliance with the provisions of the agenda. Senate spokesman Aliyu Sabi shed more light on the legislative agenda at the news conference after plenary.
In plenary today, approved and adopted the report of the ad hoc committee on the legislative agenda and formally bringing to conclusion the production of that particular document. And with me here is a copy of that particular document. It has been approved, and henceforth, this 8th Senate will be guided by the content of this particular document. Mark the word, guided, because we are not going to be a rigid body. We are going to be a dynamic, flexible, responsive, but result-oriented, in the sense that whatever we have said here will be subject to the vagaries of our environmental dynamism, because the environment is dynamic. What we thought is correct today might shift ground based on new realities tomorrow. So we are going to be guided by this document in our actions, and in the coming days, weeks, bearing any issue, we should be able to formally have this document produced so that it will be formally circulated to all Nigerians to know. And for the Senate, we will ensure that it becomes a companion to our legislative actions.
Meanwhile, the Senate on Tuesday directed the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, to review the period of validity of its results to 3 years. The resolution is a fallout of a motion raised by the Senator representing Gombe South, Joshua Lidani, on the new admission policy of the tertiary examination body. Those in support of the motion argued that an extension will reduce pressure on parents, as well as JAMB, which has been saddled with the responsibility of conducting entry-level examinations for all tertiary institutions. The motion was later referred to the Senate Committee on Education. Has raised alarm on Nigeria's public debt, which it says has risen to 12.12 trillion naira as of June 30, 2015. National coordinator of the organization, Vivian Belomo, reviewed this at a forum in Abuja. Belomo, however, noted that the increased rate of borrowing among government at all levels had not significantly impacted on infrastructural development in the country. She also claimed that money from loans have been stolen or mismanaged in the same way that all revenues have been misappropriated by government officials.
We have a situation whereby our collective resources are being channeled out to agents, to foreign governments and foreign bodies and foreign agents to the detriment of we Nigerians. And so we want to take back our resources and monies that are being used as to service debts, debt servicing, loan servicing. These monies have compromised our development. These monies have compromised our lives as Nigerians. These monies have compromised our health. As I speak to you today, over 30% of the budget is being used to service debt. And this is, you can agree with me that this is a terrible situation.
Getting it right means sticking to the provisions of the law. And the Fiscal Responsibility Act is clear. It says you can only borrow for human for human development or for capital projects. You cannot borrow for recurrent expenditure to pay salaries and overheads. You need to do a cost-benefit analysis, borrow in a sustainable manner, make sure you borrow, take loans that have long amortization period, and they should be on concessional terms. Once you get this right, and of course you need to have legislative approval, and borrow for projects that can generate economic growth, to regenerate the economy so that in future you are able to pay, even if it is to train the manpower, the human beings in society that will help us grow.
We'll take a break now and I'll be back with more stories. Stay with us.
Some pundits believe that as long as the political system is driven by selected few, corruption may be difficult to fight.
You should be careful about what you say.
I am not the only politician. Even if I've wronged anyone, it's time to forgive me.
Political Arena every Sunday at 9:15 p.m. and a repeat broadcast every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You can get all of the top stories on any of our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/CoreTV News. Our Twitter handle is at CoreTV News NG. We're streaming live on YouTube. It's youtube.com/CoreTV, level space and news. The Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions has issued a final invitation to former chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Lamode, to appear before it on Tuesday, November 24. This was after he failed to show up as expected before a panel investigating alleged diversion of assets and properties during his tenure as EFCC chairman. Committee chairman Sam Aya will set a new date after a failed attempt by Lamode's lawyer, Festus Keyamo, to buy more time for the former EFCC boss when whom he claimed had traveled out of the country for medical reasons. National Assembly correspondent Basia Ye now reports.
This is not the first time Lamode will be disregarding an invitation to appear before the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions. He has been invited at least twice since a petition against him was tabled before the Senate in August, but the former anti-graft boss has failed to show at every time. His lawyer, Festus Keyamo, was there in his stead, a situation the committee described as a disappointment and an affront to the Senate.
Chief Lamode is invited to this committee
Section 89 of the Constitution is very, very clear. It says, for the purpose of any investigation under Section 88 of this Constitution, and subject to the provision thereof, the Senate or the House of Representatives or a committee appointed in accordance with Section 65 of this Constitution shall have powers to A. To procure all evidence, written or oral, direct or circumstantial, as it may think necessary or desirable, and to examine all persons and witnesses whose evidence may be material or relevant to the subject matter.
When his lawyer was given an opportunity to speak, he explained that Lamode's absence was because he traveled out for treatment. This, Keyamo explained, is because his client had assumed that he was off the hook with a new man in charge of the anti-graft agency. His excuse is, however, not acceptable to the committee.
It was in his absence, sir, that the second letter came, this last letter came, and the distinguished members of this committee and the distinguished chairman, if you look at it, it was addressed immediate past chairman of EFCC. So the committee is aware that he's no longer chairman of EFCC. As a result, the factual situation was that he completely was, thought that in that capacity he could no longer sit down here again to give evidence for this committee. That's one. Secondly, and most importantly, that is the legal point now. The fact that he's no longer chairman of EFCC, sir, can this committee or can the Senate at all still exercise jurisdiction over him as a person under investigation, not as a witness?
He has an invitation, and for almost 3 months he has been dodging appearance for this invitation. I think you should please advise him properly, because it is not good. If today now a warrant is issued, they will say that because he had an issue with the Senate or the leadership of the Senate, that is why he is being persecuted. We don't want to persecute anybody.
And seeing that the senators were not ready to budge, Keyamo insists that the committee and the Senate lack the power to invite Lamode to appear before it.
If you look at Section 88, I guess 88 or 89, it says that those who are charged or intended to be charged with the responsibility of an office. So it does not talk about those who were charged or who was charged or the person who was charged with a responsibility.
The committee dismissed his position and fixed Tuesday, November 24 as the final date of appearance for the former anti-graft boss. Basia Ye, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Nigeria will soon start a national measles campaign that will target 39 million children within the age range of 9 and 59 months. The Executive Director of National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Adil Mohammed, discussed this at a news conference in Abuja. He said the first phase of the campaign will be done in 19 states in the northern region, while the second phase will be from January 2016 in the remaining 17 states of the Federation. Health officials are to be deployed to 96 internally displaced camps in Borno, Yobe, Adamawa and FCT for the exercise.
The first phase of the nationwide measles campaign will begin this weekend in 19 states of northern Nigeria, but it won't be until January when the second phase will commence in the remaining 17 states. This, according to the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, is a follow-up to the routine immunization exercise.
The executive governors of the 19 northern states will provide personal leadership in terms of oversight over the implementation of the program. On the final note, I want to appreciate all stakeholders, and I call on journalists to go out to the fields to supervise the conduct of this exercise, and let us have feedback from you in terms of the performance of the campaign.
The agency says measles campaign will be taken to all 96 IDP camps in Borno, Yobe, Adamawa and FCT. It added that the border posts and outposts will also be reached in an effort to ensure nationwide coverage. The exercise will also involve local government chairmen, state commissioners and governors across the country.
The agency has not shied away from its responsibility in terms of providing emergency services to Nigeria in Borno, Yobe and Adamawa. And that is also not unconnected it's because of our commitment to child survival that I'm sure you agree with me that we've been able to contain poliovirus transmission in Borno, Yobe, among other states in Nigeria. So we are present in the IDP camps and will continue to be present in the IDP camps.
Nigeria health authorities say measles kill more than any vaccine-preventable disease. They therefore want children to be immunized in order to be fully protected against the highly contagious childhood killer disease.
Outside Nigeria, Paris prosecutor Francois Molin said 2 suspects linked to the attacks in Paris has died after police raided an apartment in the northern suburb of the French capital. Mullins added that the female suspect killed herself by detonating a vest rigged with explosives at the start of the operation in St. Denis earlier this morning, while the second suspect was shot by the police. However, French media said the target of the operation was Belgian national Abdelhamed Aboud, a key suspect of the attacks, in which at least 129 people were killed. Another suspect, Salah Absalam, was already said to be a target in the raids. Meanwhile, the identity of the casualties was not released. Bangladesh's highest court has cleared the way for the government to execute 2 senior opposition politicians convicted of crimes against humanity during the country's independence war in 1971. The Supreme Court dismissed clemency petition filed by Salahuddin Chorindei and Ali Hassan Mohammed, who had requested the court to overturn its earlier decisions upholding the death penalty originally imposed by the International Crimes Tribunal. The tribunal, established in the year 2010, has so far convicted 24 people of crimes against humanity and genocide during the 9-month war, which resulted in the death of hundreds of thousands of people. 2 Saudi policemen were shot dead on Wednesday after coming under fire in the country's east, according to the Interior Ministry. The attack happened near a farm in the Sahat area of Qatif on the Gulf Coast. A ministry spokesman said no suspects had been immediately identified. Saudi Arabia has been hit by a spate of deadly shooting and bomb attacks in recent months, many claimed by the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant ISIL group. And that wraps it on the news this hour. Thank you for watching. I am Nifemi Okuntoye.